Let's do it.
And welcome to our initial episode of everyone's eagerly anticipated analytical endeavor. I am your guiding voiceover, your host and analyst, Mr. Mid himself, and I thank you for joining me here for our premiere episode of Everything is Mid. Our first season will be an episodic, in-depth look at the 2023 PG-13 horror film, Five Nights at Freddy's, also known as FNAF for those savvy surfers of the sort of scary stuff. It's a story walkthrough and so much more. We'll be providing context for the property, giving production props, but most importantly, solving story problems, while having fun along the way. Perfect for aspiring storytellers, curious outsiders, and/or fans of FNAF who liked, loved, or hated the official Blumhouse launch of the Five Nights at Freddy's cinematic universe. And now, Episode 1, Blumhouse and the Bear. Oh, and while I realize that most of us here do have at least a working knowledge of the property, let's just throw out a quick refresher for the uninitiated. Hi, Mom. And I'm going to keep it brief because there are plenty of other channels that have already dedicated themselves to this stuff who have done a way better job than I ever could. So in the event you're one of those people who've spent the last 10 years of your life just sitting there waiting for your modem to connect, here's what you missed. It was August in the year 2014 when independent producer, in this case that means a guy who's just making his own video games, Scott Cawthon released a survival horror video game called Five Nights at Freddy's. The gameplay centered around a fictitious pizza party arcade a la Chuck E. Cheese, where the life-sized anthropomorphic animal animatronics play music on stage during the day and wander the eatery's shadowy halls at night. You play as the night watchman who has to survive 5 nights on the job without getting mauled by the murderous machines. It's a game built around spooky tension and creepy jump scares. Naturally, it grabbed the younger audience who were drawn to its dark twist on the pizza party animatronics. But it also had crossover appeal for high school and even college students who appreciated the ironic comedy of its horror. And the jump scares were legit. Its popularity took off and there was no looking back, except to see if that was Freddy lurking in the doorway. To date, the FNAF franchise has spawned a slew of games, spin-offs, AR, VR novels, anthologies, graphic novels, coloring books, and more, including the 2023 feature film we'll be discussing today. With such an impressive multimedia empire as its foundation, a Five Nights at Freddy's feature film seemed like a slam dunk. But would it live up to the success of the franchise, or trip on its way out of the gate? Well, it was produced by a relatively small production company, Blumhouse, who built their studio on a run of successful low-budget horror movies. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie was made for a meager $22 million budget. That may sound like a lot of money to you and me, but for a feature film budget, it's not a lot. October 27, 2023, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie simultaneously premieres in theaters and on the Peacock streaming service. Now it was up to the audience. Would they be there with their wallet?
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
The FNAF movie smashed all previous Blumhouse records, making it their highest-grossing global opening ever. Not only did it make back its entire budget, it did so on the opening weekend. And, as of this recording, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has made almost $300 million worldwide. $300 million. It's funny, it's like the exact opposite of Disney and MCU's The Marvels, that cost around $300 million, but only made $22 million. Well, okay, not really.
I did!
But seriously, Disney's budget for the Marvels was almost $300 million. According to some sources, even more than that. And because it seems they've completely lost their ability to make a movie or streamer that resonates with the audience, The Marvels did not and will not ever make back its budget. Contrast that lumbering corporate misfire to the comparably nimble Blumhouse, and you will marvel when you realize that the FNAF movie has easily earned back over 10 times what they spent to make it. While the corporate behemoths of entertainment continue to stumble through the modern landscape, willfully ladling their audiences with a sludge of complacency, condescension, and even contempt, Blumhouse actually prioritizes their audience. Blumhouse's strategy is to just make little horror movies with a small budget and a big return. And the only way to make this strategy work is to make films that resonate with the audience. The best thing I can say about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is that it was clearly a genuine effort to honor the franchise, to deliver for the fans, and an honest desire to bring these characters as they are known, loved, and feared to the big screen. Like you, I'm sure, we here at the EIM editorial offices have seen plenty of critically acclaimed movies that were crap. Conversely, the general audience has a proclivity for supporting vapid trash with their well-earned entertainment dollar. That being the case, the scores on Rotten Tomatoes are not a definitive measure of quality. Not to mention, the tomato meter can be, and has on occasion been, gamed by the studios and public relation companies. Aside from that, not only will a movie's tomato score be affected by where the movie is in its release schedule, but it will also be impacted by which, and how many, media outlets are posting reviews at any given time. Nevertheless, the tomato meter does tend to settle into a final score that can still assist in giving us a solid sense of the movie's buzz. In the case of Five Nights at Freddy's, this high score tells us that the movie was pretty successful at satisfying the needs of its core audience. However, this low score indicates that the critics clearly have issues with the way in which those needs have been satisfied by the filmmakers. That disparity between the audience and the critics is what we here at Everything is Mid are all about. Because it's an indication that instead of realizing its full potential, the storytelling has stumbled. And how has the FNAF story stumbled? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's the question I intend to answer for the next couple of hours. For those of you brave enough to take this journey with me, I suggest you pack a snack and refresh your thermos, for our adventure is nearly upon us. You've been watching Everything is Mid, Blumhouse and the Bear. In our next installment, we'll be analyzing Freddy's DNA and taking a look at what makes FNAF FNAF with our top 5 Five Nights at Freddy's checklist. We'll be seeing ya. You've been watching our epic Five Nights at Freddy's movie review. You made it this far, so why not hit the like button down there? Or better yet, stop by the channel and get caught up on our other episodes. I'm sure there's some good stuff there you'd enjoy, right? I don't know. Anyway, if you were entertained or even infuriated by what you saw, let us know in the comments. And thank you for being one of the exceptional viewers in a world where everything is mid.